We tend to think of Australia as a wide brown land, a place of dust and drought, a place of eternal sunshine filled with knockabout people wearing big smiles. It's called the lucky country, and most of the time we can understand why. But we've seen over the last few weeks that it's also a country of extremes, and whether it's fires or floods or droughts or cyclones, in the aftermath of these disasters, we quickly realise that we're a lucky country, not because of the things we have, but because of the people we are. For the equestrian community, these floods have been a tragedy. Sadly, many of the worst hit areas around Brisbane, Toowoomba, Ipswich and the Lockyer Valley have been densely populated equestrian communities. It is still too early to count the losses, but we know that many hundreds of our equine friends have been victims of the terrible floods of January 2011. This is their story.
I've heard a lot of stories. I've had phone call after phone call after phone call, and I knew it was pretty bad, but it really hits home today when you actually start getting in the car, driving around and seeing where the floodwaters are metres and metres and metres above your head. You see the fences down, you see the absolute destruction, and you know how long it's going to take for those pastures to return, you know how long it's going to take for that infrastructure to be rebuilt, and you start to hear the harrowing stories firsthand, but also see the emotion behind it. This is going to be a long-term recovery, not only in a physical sense, but also in an emotional sense for many of the people that are out here now. And they're very proud people.
It's been, pretty sad, some of the people that have come in here. And we found that a lot of the people aren't coming, their pride. And it's like, I've actually seen that all of them think they're not worthy. It's like, only just give me one bag, they've got 10 animals, just give me one bag because, there's somebody else that needs it. And really had to encourage them to say, look, this isn't charity, this isn't about the humans, this is about the animals.
Well, Dave, we've come up to Queensland to see the effect of the floods. 10 days on, as you can see behind us, still a lot of water around.
It's amazing, Hamish. Words can't explain it. The magnitude of how much water was flowing down through this river, it's just phenomenal.
And unless you see it, you just can't believe it, can you?
That's right.
I haven't fully comprehended it. No matter how much you watch it on the news, no matter how much you hear it on the radio, unless you actually see what's happened here, you can't believe what these Queenslanders have been through.
That's right, Hamish. And we've heard some, devastating stories. You read the paper about rivers rising so quickly that it's engulfing entire stable complexes. It's just phenomenal.
Well, certainly, horse community is really had a hard time of it over the last 10 days. They're going to have a hard time in the future. So I think it's up to everyone to sort of pitch in and help out for them.
This is why we had to come to Queensland. We wanted to see our comrades in the horse community, to meet them and let them tell their stories. We wanted people around Australia and around the world to know what they had been through and what they would face in the future. We wanted them to know that people cared.
People like Peter and Penny Toft are a shining example of the never say die attitude of Queenslanders. They run a huge Arabian breeding enterprise on a number of properties outside of Brisbane, and Penny is one of Australia's leading endurance riders. Okay, Penny, you've got the truck here and we're sort of on the road up to one of your properties. Why the horses today? What are you doing here?
Well, today's the final roundup of the horses. It's actually the first day we've been able to get horses into the property. Peter's been in there the last couple of days trying to secure fences and locate some of the horses, but no vehicles have been able to get in there so far. So we've gone in there this morning, Peter on the quad, and we found, I think, the last 26 horses that have been missing.
Penny and Peter were kind enough to show us around one of their properties, and the damage to the landscape shows the force of the water that went through here. Only 2 weeks ago, this was gently sloping ground leading up to the dam which provides drinking water for the horses, but is now a huge crater that must be 20 metres deep in places. In another paddock, the ground has eroded so badly that the dam below it has completely filled up with silt and is now totally unrecognisable.
To fully appreciate the scale of this disaster, we had to visit Ground Zero. And in the area around Brisbane, this has been the University of Queensland Equine Hospital. David Manchin is the barn manager at this state-of-the-art facility.
Basically, right where we are, where we're situated, we're in right smack bang in the middle of horse country. We've got a lot of performance horses, we've also got a lot of pleasure horses, and basically through the facility, what we were able to do here was just be a depot for feed and make sure that a lot of hay and hard feed got out to people that were really severely impacted on by the water.
So this was ground zero, so to speak, in this area?
In this area, mate, you know, we had a lot of people from the community, Queensland, Australia, reach out and say, hey, I can help you out. You know, this hay here, mate, this came from Goulburn Valley. Some fellas jumped in their truck and brought that up. We had hay from Western Australia. We had fellas from Toowoomba bringing down hard feed, mate. So it's sort of the stuff that really puts a lump in your throat.
Of course, as good as they have been, they couldn't have done it without a lot of help.
We've had a lot of impact from people like Barrastock and Prides and High Feeds there in Toowoomba. You know, they've been really great. We've had a lot of stuff in the small equine unit at this hospital that have been, it was called the Noah's Ark during the floods, mate, because a lot of animals. I think they had 2 Siamese fighting fish, 5 doves, 25 dogs, 15 cats, mate. It was sort of, Noah's Ark, a bit of a menagerie.
Inside the hospital, we got to meet one of the flood survivors, a 9-year-old quarter-horse Arab mare called Tilly, who had been trapped in the floodwaters and now being treated by hospital intern Philippe Manchin.
We don't know who owns her or anything else like that, but she came in with 2 deep lacerations on both her back legs, and she also has a chronic problem with her eye. She can't actually see out of this left eye. So she was brought to us. She was flood affected. She hadn't eaten for a while. She was quite skinny and didn't look too well at all. As you can still see, she's got a bit of a runny nose there, so she may have swallowed a bit of water in the process of that with all the water that came through that area. So at the moment we're just looking after her, and she's being sponsored by a group called Quest Equine Welfare. So we're looking after her and looking after the veterinary treatment, and Quest Equine Welfare are assisting with the cost of that. So the plan is to try and reunite her with her owners, hopefully, or maybe find a sponsor family that will look after her.
The large lacerations on Tilly's back legs were a most obvious injury.
When they came in, they were just covered in mud and pus and sort of all encrusted sort of thing, all the way up her legs. And you couldn't really even tell how bad they were. Fortunately for Tilly, she doesn't actually have any joint involvement or involvement of her tendons or ligaments. Yep. So that's a great thing for her. It's all superficial, really. Yeah.
Here at the Equine Hospital, they're seeing firsthand the injuries sustained by horses in the floods.
Definitely wire injuries have been really, really common. I mean, with all the fences that have been washed away and the horses go with it sort of thing, so they end up caught up in a lot of wire.
What about with so much water? There would have been a lot of horses having to swim for hours, Yeah. How long do some of the horses have to swim for?
Well, we've actually got a few horses in the hospital that were swimming for up to 36 hours, and they were some of the horses that came in the worst shape we've seen. They were exhausted, and they were coughing up just brown muck from all the water they'd been swallowing, struggling to keep their head above water. And hopefully we've got them on the right track now.
With a disaster of this magnitude, sadly, not every horse could be saved.
The unfortunate situation was that in the immediate aftermath of the flooding, that there were a number of horses that simply had to be put down because their wounds were just so extensive.
Fortunately, Tilly was a good news story.
Hopefully she'll have 2 sound back legs, and she should be happy. She'll be back out in the paddock eating grass.
So it's as good a news as it can be for Tilly.
Tilly's one of the lucky ones.
Back on the road, it seemed that everywhere we went there was evidence of the floods. In truth, we didn't need to go into the cities to see the damage, because the story of what went on here 10 days ago was told by just driving through the landscape.
After a long and often harrowing day, we needed some good news stories. The Ipswich Showground has turned into a community relief centre, and here a band of volunteers have organised and managed a depot for donated horse supplies since the height of the flood crisis 10 days ago. People like Reg Weatherall are the sort of heroes that you meet at times like these. What are you doing here? How are you helping the flood victims?
Okay, basically what we're doing is we're trying to distribute feed to those that require it. Okay, a lot of the horse industry, as you've probably seen, has been devastated around here.
Yep.
Feed is one of our major problems.
Yep.
And there's a lot of people out there that require it, so we've been able to set up a centre here that caters for those needs. People either come in and pick it up,
yep,
or we've got volunteers that go out and deliver it and do reconnaissance to find out what's happening.
All right. Can we go for a bit of a walk through?
We certainly can.
See what we've got here?
Certainly can.
Right, so we've got hay over here, of course.
We've got the hay over there,
a lot of people lost hay, the whole hay
right.
sheds.
And a lot of that's actually come out of the Hunter Valley. We also do have a semi-trailer or two coming out of Melbourne, Victoria, early next week with some hard feed.
Yep.
And so on. They're helping us back out as we help them during the Victorian bushfire field.
Okay. So all Australia's working together.
It is. Up through here we've got some vet gear,
Oh, vet supplies, yeah.
vet supplies, rugs and basically anything that anyone's after. It's all here in the one place. We did have, this morning, these pallets were just chock-a-block full with bags of hard feeders and pellet type stuff and so on. Well, that's all gone out during the course of the day.
You've had a lot of people coming in?
There's been a lot of people coming in and a lot of volunteers, especially today being Saturday, coming in with vehicles, picking up feed and just going out and distributing it wherever it's needed.
A lot of the produce and equestrian supplies that have been provided from this depot have been organised and handed out by Lynn Sutton from the horse protection group Hoofs 2010. Lynn, you're a long way from home. What brings you to Ipswich Showground right now, and how are you helping out with their flood relief effort?
Well, we just delivered a little bit of food, that's all, a bit of horse food to help with all the flooding and, loss of stock and feed.
But where are you from?
Hunter Valley.
Hunter Valley, New South Wales?
Yeah.
So you just bought some feed up of your own accord?
Well, kind of. We just sort of put a post on Facebook that we'd like to get a crew together and come up here, and then the local media down there picked it up, and then all the businesses kept ringing, and so 700 bales went to 1,400 bales, went to 4,000 bales, and 1 tonne went to 2 tonne, went to 3 tonne, went to 4 tonne. So it was a matter of, I've done something.
So how did you get all that up here? Like, how have you organised that in a week?
Well, businesses actually came on board. So transport was free, driver was free, fuel was free. So it's basically everything that's here is free.
You understand why people like Reg and Lynn are doing what they're doing when you meet great Australian characters like Terry. Now, Terry, you're here in at the Relief Centre, getting obviously a load of hay here to take back to your home. How have you been affected by the floods, and how have you been helped out by the people here doing all this great work here in Ipswich Showgrounds?
Well, personally, first of all, we were affected with our house, not the house going under, just our garage, water to the roof. But the house is up higher than the garage, so we haven't been affected with the house, which is great. We were able to smile when we got home afterwards to see that we didn't have water through the house. As far as our horses are concerned, though, we've had a lot of bad effect, because the paddocks that we have horses in, they were totally underwater, and so we've got the horses yarded at the moment, right, and that's why we need hay.
Natalie Nichols is Deputy Chair of Equestrian Australia and has recently been appointed Chair of the Equestrian Australia Flood Crisis Committee, and she is doing a fantastic job of assisting those in the equestrian community who have been devastated by these floods. How are you going to go about raising funds to help the equestrian community here?
Equestrian Australia is working with Horse Zone, and what we're doing is we're going to create an online stallion auction of some of the best stallions in the country, and people will be able to bid for those stallions online, very similar to what happened for the recovery effort for the Victorian fires.
And where would we find information about that stallion auction?
It will be on horsezone.com.au, and also if you keep checking back to the Equestrian Australia website, then we'll have all those details on there, and that will be coming out over the coming weeks.
These floods have had a devastating effect on our friends in Queensland, so please, if you can, bid in the online stallion auction or donate to the Premier's flood relief appeal.
It's a big learning curve.
I don't want to be too dramatic.
Sort of the stuff that really puts a lump in your throat.
We were able to smile when we got home afterwards to see that we didn't have water through the house.
It's humbling for them to see.
Not only today that we need it, it's going to be the coming weeks.
And seeing this shed getting emptied is a pretty good reward too.
Well, good on you.
I'll be glad when it's all gone. I'm looking forward to going home.